welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going straight into a really crucial topic, self-defense, but approached from a real-world perspective.
Yeah, and we're using Mark Hatmaker's book, No Second Chance, as our main source here.
The definitely sensitive stuff we're talking about, potential violence and all that.
It is. But look, the goal isn't to make anyone afraid. It's more about understanding the reality of danger and, effective ways to respond, giving you a sense of empowerment, really.
Exactly. This isn't theory for theory's sake. We're pulling out the practical advice, the stuff that matters, straight from Hatmaker's, let's say, no-nonsense view.
Cutting through some of the fluff you sometimes hear.
Right. Focusing on what actually happens, what works when things get dangerous.
And it helps to know where Hatmaker's coming from. His background is in combative sports, so his advice isn't just wishful thinking, it's grounded.
Grounded in, well, the realities of actual confrontations. So, our mission, really, for this deep dive, give you the knowledge about potential threats, how predators might actually think and act, and what you can realistically do.
It's about being prepared, not paranoid. That's the balance.
Okay, so let's dive in. First, big idea, this whole predator and prey dynamic.
Yeah, and Hatmaker argues this isn't just like a metaphor, it's fundamental. It's like watching Animal Planet, those scenes at the watering hole.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you mean. The gazelles, they come in so carefully.
Always looking around, testing the air, that constant vigilance.
It's built-in awareness, isn't it? Even if they don't see the lion, they know danger could be there.
And then you see the lioness, she's not just charging randomly, she watches, she waits, and she picks one.
Usually the one that looks easiest, right?
Yeah.
The young, the old, maybe one that's lagging behind or just not paying attention.
Exactly. It's about the path of least resistance for the predator. Maximum gain, minimum effort, or risk.
And that maps directly onto human predators, according to Hatmaker.
Yeah.
They're looking for vulnerability too.
They are. Sizing people up, maybe not even consciously sometimes, but looking for someone who seems unaware, unprepared, less likely to fight back.
So just being aware, projecting confidence, that can be a deterrent in itself.
A huge one. Which brings us to this kind of difficult point Hatmaker makes, the cause they wanna principle.
Right. This idea that predators act out of desire, not always some deep, complex motive we can understand or reason with.
He mentions that chilling case, John Lawrence Miller. When asked why he did these horrific things, his answer is basically just, he wanted to know what it felt like.
No grand plan, no understandable reason, just desire. It's really disturbing.
And the danger there, the practical point for self-defense, is freezing up because you're trying to figure out why. Why is this happening? Why me?
In that moment, the why is totally irrelevant to your survival.
Completely. Wasting precious seconds trying to analyze the attacker's motives is time you're not escaping or fighting back.
It's applying rational thought to someone acting, potentially, completely irrational.
You have to focus on your safety. And Hatmaker connects this to our own biology. He says, look, we're all offspring of survivors.
Meaning we have these built-in survival responses.
That's it. The adrenaline dump, heart racing, senses on high alert. That's not panic. That's your body gearing up, preparing you.
For fight or flight.
Exactly. And he's really clear on this. It's binary. It's one or the other. There's no real middle ground, no half fleeing, half fighting.
That hesitation, trying to maybe talk your way out of it when it's clearly a violent situation, that's dangerous.
Super dangerous. It's your, let's call it, civilized brain trying to deal with a primal threat. And that conflict can just short-circuit everything, freeze you up.
When you absolutely need to be moving.
So the takeaway here, the thing to really internalize, is deciding now, before anything happens, decide that if you're faced with that kind of threat, you will survive.
Make a choice ahead of time?
Yes, you either get away instantly or you fight back with absolutely everything you've got. No third option is reliable.
Okay, that's a heavy but crucial foundation. Let's shift now and tackle some common ideas about self-defense that Hatmaker argues are, well, myths. Potentially dangerous ones.
Yeah, he really goes after some conventional wisdom, like the idea you can always be ready.
Right, like you can anticipate the exact moment.
But he points out the predator almost always has the advantage of surprise. They pick the time, the place, the method. You, as the potential target, you don't see it coming.
So they have the initiative.
They do. His analogy is preparing for a car crash. You don't know when it'll happen, but you wear a seatbelt, right? You check your brakes.
You take precautions. It's about managing risk, not predicting the unpredictable.
Exactly. It's about reducing your overall vulnerability, not being superhumanly alert 200/7.
Okay, another big one he tackles head on. The myth that resisting an assault, especially something like rape, is pointless or makes it worse.
He is very direct about this. He finds advice suggesting non-resistance in that situation reprehensible, frankly,
Uh-huh.
and not supported by data.
He cites a Department of Justice study, right? From the 80s.
Yes, 1985. It compared injuries for women who resisted rape attempts versus those who didn't. And the findings really challenged that don't fight back idea.
What did it find, basically?
Significantly, it found that fighting back did not lead to statistically worse physical injuries. The types of injuries, bruises, scrapes were generally similar in both groups.
But crucially,
Crucially, women who did resist were more likely to actually stop the assault from being completed.
resistance increased the odds of preventing the rape without significantly increasing severe physical harm.
That's what the data suggested. So Hatmaker argues very forcefully that telling someone not to resist is disempowering and, frankly, wrong based on the evidence he presents.
His message is unequivocal. Fight back.
Always.
Always. The data, as he interprets it, supports that. Resisting gives you a much better chance. That's a vital takeaway.
Okay, what about martial arts training? He questions some aspects of that too, doesn't he? Specifically those pattern responses. Yes, the if they do X, you do Y kind of training. His point is that real attacks aren't choreographed. They're messy, chaotic, unpredictable.
Not like a dojo scenario with rules and predictable movements.
Absolutely not. The attacker isn't going to grab you in the precise way you practiced. There might be obstacles, bad lighting, sheer panic. Rigid patterns often fall apart under that kind of pressure.
Adrenaline changes everything, too.
Totally. And finally, on myths, he talks about gadgets, pepper spray, tasers, that sort of thing.
People put a lot of faith in just carrying them.
Right. But he stresses that just having it isn't enough. Have you practiced deploying it under stress? Do you know its limitations, its range? What if it fails?
It can create a false sense of security if you haven't trained.
Exactly. Like owning a fire extinguisher doesn't automatically mean you can put out a fire effectively in an emergency. Training and understanding are key. Otherwise, it's just another thing to fumble with.
Right. Okay, so we've covered mindset, busted some myths. Let's move into more positive, empowering strategies. Prevention first, then response. Starting with this idea. Crime is a product of opportunity.
This is central to his philosophy. Predators, whether for property or violence, generally look for the easiest way in. They look for the open door, figuratively and literally.
So simple things make a difference.
Huge difference. He uses examples like, a locked car versus an unlocked one. Obvious choice for a thief. Or someone walking down the street, head buried in their phone, totally oblivious.
Versus someone walking tall, looking around, aware.
Exactly. In a parking lot, who's the easier target? The person alert and moving purposefully, or the person fumbling with keys and bags, distracted? The predator makes that calculation.
Which is actually kind of empowering because it means simple changes in our behavior can make us less attractive targets.
Precisely. You gain a lot of control just by reducing the opportunities you present.
He even puts a number on it, that 90% rule.
Yeah, he suggests that by managing opportunity locking doors, being aware, not looking like an easy mark, you can potentially avoid the vast majority of criminal encounters altogether without ever needing physical skills.
That's a powerful incentive to just pay attention.
It really is. Make yourself a harder target. Simple habits, consistent awareness.
Another preventative tactic he mentions is knowing the watering hole. Back to that nature analogy.
Right. Just like animals know the escape routes near vital resources, we should be aware of entrances and exits everywhere we go, not just the main ones.
So in your home, your office, a restaurant, even somewhere new, take a second to clock the exits.
Exactly. Back doors, fire escapes, windows you could break, just a quick mental scan. Where could I go if something suddenly happened right here? Takes 5 seconds. Could be invaluable.
Okay, but what if prevention fails and you are confronted? Especially with a weapon.
Then his rule is absolute. Life comes before property.
Give up the wallet, the phone, whatever they want.
Yes. It might feel wrong in the moment, but material things are replaceable. Your life isn't. Fighting over a phone when someone has a knife or gun is just incredibly high risk for minimal reward. Surrender the stuff, focus on getting away safely.
And getting away, running is key, especially against guns, he argues.
Strongly. He cites some pretty surprising stats about how inaccurate guns often are in chaotic, high-stress situations.
Like really low hit rates.
Yeah, he mentions an informal police estimate suggesting maybe only a 4% hit rate for untrained people in sudden encounters. Even in recorded gunfights, it often takes multiple shots per hit.
So running, creating distance, zigzagging maybe, that drastically reduces their chance of hitting you.
Exactly. Distance is your friend. Don't stand there. Run. It's often the smartest tactical move.
He also talks about avoiding crime scene #2. What's that about?
That's a concept from another expert, Sanford Strong. Crime scene #2 is that secondary location the attacker tries to take you to. The secluded alley, the car, back to their place. Somewhere they have more control and privacy.
And that's where the really bad stuff is more likely to happen.
Far more likely, your chances plummet if they get you isolated like that. So, Hatmaker stresses you must resist being moved. Fight like hell before you get to crime scene #2.
Do whatever it takes not to let them take you somewhere else.
Whatever it takes, that's the critical point of resistance. Run, fight, scream, bite. Don't go quietly to that second location.
And interestingly, he also mentions save others by running. How does that work?
It sounds a bit counterintuitive, maybe selfish, but think about herd mentality in a crisis. People freeze. They look to others.
If everyone's frozen and you suddenly bolt for an exit.
You break the paralysis, you show escape is possible, others might snap out of it and follow you. By saving yourself first, you might inadvertently trigger others to save themselves too.
Lead by example, even in fleeing.
Kind of, yeah. Prioritize your escape, it might help everyone.
Okay, we've got prevention, initial responses. Let's get into some more hands-on practical stuff Hatmaker advises. This idea of daydreaming your nightmares.
Or self-stalking. It sounds a bit grim, but it's actually a really useful mental exercise.
What does it involve?
Basically, you proactively think like someone who might target you or your home. You look at your routines, your environment through their eyes. Where are the weak spots?
So asking yourself things like, how would I break into my house? Or when am I most predictable or distracted during my commute?
Exactly. Where do I always park? Do I always take the same route? Am I paying attention when I use the ATM late at night?
And the point is to identify vulnerabilities before someone else does.
And then you can make small changes. Park somewhere different. Vary your routine slightly. Be extra aware at certain times or places. It's about proactively reducing those opportunities you spotted.
Creating a mental threat assessment.
Precisely, and developing potential responses in your mind ahead of time.
He also emphasizes that the world is your arsenal.
Love that phrase. It means look around. Unless you're in a padded cell, there are probably things you can use to defend yourself.
Ordinary objects.
Totally. Keys, pens, a rolled-up magazine, a chair, a fire extinguisher, rocks, dirt,
Yeah.
anything you can grab, throw, swing, or use to distract.
He suggests playing a mental game.
Yeah, the tool utility game.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, mentally pick out, say, 5 nearby objects and quickly think, how could I use that defensively? A heavy stapler, a hot cup of coffee, a belt.
It trains your brain to see potential weapons everywhere, so you don't feel helpless if unarmed.
Exactly. And speaking of unarmed, he constantly brings it back to your natural weapon.
Head, elbows, knees.
Teeth. Don't forget teeth. These are always with you, require no permit, and can be incredibly effective if used forcefully on vulnerable targets.
And he uses those interesting analogies for the mindset during an attack. Tasmanian devil?
Yeah, or Sam Spade.
Yeah.
The idea is overwhelming, continuous, maybe even seemingly random aggression. Not precise techniques, but a furious, non-stop assault to shock the attacker and create an opening to escape.
Like a cornered animal fighting for its life.
Pretty much. Unleash that primal instinct. Don't worry about looking graceful. Worry about hurting them enough to get away. Bite, scratch, gouge, knee, headbutt. Continuous. Vicious, unexpected.
I'm targeting specific areas.
Definitely. Eyes, ears, nose, throat, groin, maybe knees or shins. Soft spots, areas that cause immediate pain, disorientation, or disrupt their ability to attack you. Use your natural weapons or improvised ones on these targets.
He cautions against relying too heavily on complex grappling in a street scenario, though, right?
He does. Grappling has its place, obviously, but in a sudden chaotic attack, possibly involving weapons or multiple assailants getting tied up on the ground can be extremely dangerous. He favors simple, explosive strikes to create distance and escape, rather than intricate joint locks or throws that might fail under pressure.
Keep it simple, direct, and focused on getting away.
That's the core idea. And to practice this, he suggests a training continuum.
Starting slow and building up.
Right. Learn the basic movements, how to strike with an elbow, how to knee effectively, how to break a simple grab. Practice them slowly, then gradually add speed, power, resistance from a partner.
And importantly, adding stress.
Yes, incorporate verbal commands, maybe some pushing or jostling to simulate the chaos and adrenaline of a real encounter. You want to bridge the gap between knowing what to do and being able to actually do it under pressure, fueled by that Tasmanian devil energy.
He distinguishes between grabs and strikes, too.
Yeah, static attacks, like grabs, versus fluid attacks, like punches. Basic responses often involve dropping your weight, creating a solid base, and immediately attacking those vulnerable targets we talked about. Disrupt their plan, hurt them, get away.
Okay, so bringing this deep dive into Hatmaker's No Second Chance toward a close, what are the absolute core takeaways?
I think it really boils down to preparedness, awareness, and mindset.
Being prepared not just physically, but mentally, deciding ahead of time that you will survive.
Absolutely. Maintaining that awareness of your surroundings, reducing opportunities for predators, knowing your watering holes.
And cultivating that decisive mindset, either escape instantly or fight back ferociously. No hesitation.
And remember, this isn't about fostering fear. It's the opposite. It's about empowerment through knowledge and realistic preparation. Acknowledging risk doesn't mean living scared. It means living smarter.
We really hope this deep dive gave you a solid, practical foundation based on Hatmaker's reality-driven approach, something concrete to think about.
Definitely. It's worth considering how these principles apply to your own life, your daily habits.
So maybe a final thought for you to take away. Spend a little time today just reflecting on your routine.
And identify maybe 3 specific small things you could change today to make yourself just a little bit safer, a little less vulnerable.
Not out of fear, like we said, but as an act of self-respect, taking responsibility for your own safety.
Because ultimately, as Hatmaker emphasizes, your biggest weapon, your most formidable survival tool is your brain, your awareness, your decisions.
Use it proactively. And hey, if this discussion resonated, definitely check out the book No Second Chance, or look into other reputable, reality-based self-defense resources.
There's always more to learn. Thanks for tuning in for this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.